After just 19 games, it is painfully clear Caleb Williams cannot read NFL defenses. Despite the Bears hiring mastermind Ben Johnson to fix this problem, Caleb's still struggling to get rid of the ball pre-snap, post-snap, and when we turn on the film, one thing becomes obvious: he has no idea what he's looking at. Through 2 games this year, he was supposed to look completely different. Ben Johnson's 2024 Lions offense literally led the NFL in points, but in 2025, Caleb has looked completely lost. Johnson's offense is known for being very rigid, specific, calculated, intentional, and Johnson had massive success implementing his system with Jared Goff, a quarterback who'd do exactly as he was told. Ben Johnson's offense will scheme receivers open, you can believe that. As long as you play within the scheme and timing of the play, you will succeed. Which is why this marriage between him and Caleb felt so odd from the beginning. Caleb is a freelancer, and he's not shown he can play within the scheme. When watching him Sundays, anytime he starts scrambling, running around, that means either Ben Johnson's play call didn't work, or that Caleb's not reading the defense. Ben Johnson's plays work a lot, and they've been working with the Bears. But since Caleb is the trigger man, he cannot read the defense, so because of that, the plays look like they've not been working. Instead, just like last year, he's holding the ball as guys come open, then running around. Pre-snap he's bad, post-snap he's worse, and those are what we're going to dive into deeper. But before we do, I want to thank this week's sponsor, Arena Club. Arena Club is a platform that takes the things I love, trading cards, and reimagines it into a digital experience. They take all things card collectors love: trading, grading, selecting, investing, and obviously collecting. As a kid, I couldn't stop going to the card store. I loved baseball, football, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, all of it. And if you know, you know. The best part is just as you're opening that pack, you could get anything. That's why I love slab packs from arenaclub.com, because you can get anything, now, anytime. It takes me right back to my childhood, but in a cooler, more updated way. With slab packs, you can open packs anytime you want, and you can even trade them too. There's a big online store where everybody can see what you got, so just like the old days, you can still trade, but now with anybody. Right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/Rollins and use code Rollins. What's so important about properly executing Ben Johnson's scheme is that each play builds off the last. He sequences his play calls, so they're designed to attack a certain spot and or a certain defender, but if you don't capitalize on hitting that spot or defender, you've missed the chance to set up the next play. Take this 4-play example spanning the course of both week 1 and 2, where Johnson consistently creates open receivers that Caleb fails to capitalize on. On the 4th play of the season, Johnson runs one of his staple concepts. I believe in his offense he calls it Yankee Z circle post, which is a relatively simple post-over combination. It's best against 1 high safety defenses, which we'll see in a sec, because against 1 high safety coverages, the safety has to decide if he's going to run with the post deep, opening up the crosser, or dive on the crosser, opening up the post. It's a little muddier against 2 high safety coverages, like the Vikings are playing here, because there are more bodies over the middle, but it's a pretty simple read, because it's simply an either or. The guys go deep, throw the crosser, the guys stay underneath, throw the post. You can see at the top of Caleb's drop, Theo Jackson is starting to sit down for the crosser, and check out Caleb has a wide open pocket. Rome Odunze pushes the cornerback outside to create space in the post, but instead of Caleb anticipating this open space, and then even just sitting there and watching it unfold, with no pressure at all, he quickly checks it down. Then a few drives later, Ben Johnson tries to set up the Vikings defense by showing them the same route stems from the receivers, the same paths of the Yankee post concept, but Caleb doesn't execute. This is supposed to look like the Yankee post with the crosser and post. Odunze once again stems outside like he did last time to show the cornerback he's running that same post. But both receivers sit down in these soft spots in coverage. DJ Moore is definitely open. You could say with the right ball, Odunze is too. And while Caleb does get pressured, if he gets to the top of his drop and rips this thing with anticipation, this is an explosive pass down the field to Moore. Now fast forward to last week, week 2 against the Lions, and this is what happens when you can't read defenses. Your coach begins overly defining reads for you, and you increasingly miss open receivers. Here is normal Yankee post again, and now the Lions have just the 1 high safety. It's perfect. But in the film room, Ben Johnson told him to make sure to check the post route after the first play we saw. So instead of Caleb hitting the wide open DJ Moore running under the safety, he forces the post into double coverage. Quarterbacks who can't process the defense limit the entirety of the offense because they can't hit every receiver in a concept, they can't run many concepts, so the coach ends up calling fewer plays, which allows defenses to decipher the offense easier. Here the Lions disguise their cover 2 zone invert call brilliantly. This looks like cover 1 man coverage with 1 deep safety, but Detroit completely switches it up and plays cover 2 zone with 2 deep safeties. Invert means it's cornerbacks playing deep instead of safeties, and it's the perfect call against Yankee post. The safety who was deep can cut the crosser, and it's clear the Lions knew Yankee post was coming, cause watch how the cornerback passes off the crosser to run to the post. A quarterback who can't read the defense limits your options both within the play and limits how many concepts you can confidently call for him. What's unfortunate about Caleb's struggles and his overall lack of development from his rookie season is that instead of taking the next big step, he's still just learning to be serviceable, so the 201 and 301 levels of quarterbacking are classes he still hasn't attended. For example, processing more advanced coverages pre and post snap just is not there at all. Like here the Vikings are disguising their man coverage by showing him its zone. Man-on-man coverage implies cornerbacks are on wide receivers. You wouldn't want a linebacker on a wide receiver. Speed mismatch. And we can see on this play why defenses don't do that. Minnesota is playing man, so it's linebacker Blake Cashman on wide receiver Rome Odunze, and you can see what happens in the matchup. But Caleb is fooled, isn't prepared for the disguise, doesn't have a plan pre to post snap, and look, we already know he's good at running around. But like I said, when he's extending the play, that means that either Ben Johnson's play isn't working, Odunze is open, or Caleb isn't reading the field. There was also this example against the Lions, where again it's a very risky, more advanced disguise. Ben Johnson tries to give Caleb a pre-snap indicator by lining up running back DeAndre Swift outside to see what position on defense matches. If it's a cornerback, Caleb knows it's very likely zone coverage, because that means the Lions would have to put a linebacker on, like, Rome Odunze, like we just saw, didn't work. But since it's a linebacker out here, Caleb knows it's very likely man, but very likely doesn't mean always. Before the shift, the Lions are risking having their linebacker Jack Campbell playing the flat zone and cover 2 zone, but because of the disguise Caleb thinks this is man, it completely fools him. He panics, rolls out, and throws arguably the worst interception of the year. Sometimes he just makes it harder on himself where his eyes are in the wrong place post-snap, so even if he's trying to sit in the pocket and read out the concept, instead of running around, his bad tendencies just make it harder on himself. The Bears have a good play call against the Vikings cover 2 zone defense, a smash concept. A classic cover 2 beater, which isolates and high-lows the cornerback Isaiah Rodgers. Then if that doesn't work, they have a backside dig that Caleb can work back to later in the down. But he starts to his left, which makes him late to smash on the right. He gets to the top of his drop still looking left, with Olamide Zaccheaus wide open. DJ Moore is open too. But if you're not anticipating smash, it's not going to work. So by the time he looks at it, it's too late. Ben Johnson designed this concept to start with the shorter developing concept to the right, then look at the longer developing concept to the left, so it makes no sense at all to start with the longer concept, since you'll just be staring at it during the entire down, and then, if it's not open, you're screwed. Caleb also just has wild bouts of inaccuracy, where he's consistently missing easy throws. He's operating from inside the pocket, but just yeets balls wildly over people's heads. And this is perhaps the most concerning part of his game. At times, he's just missing targets that are right in front of him. It's only 2 games in, but the alarm bells are going off for Caleb Williams in Chicago. Ben Johnson did not draft him, so he has no ties to him. He's solely looking for a quarterback who can run his system. If Caleb can't do that, well, he might be on his second team way earlier than any of us could have ever imagined. At the end of the day, the NFL is a scheme, play from within the pocket game. We knew that Caleb wasn't necessarily this type of quarterback coming out of USC, but with his talent and decent coaching right off the bat, he could have been a superstar. After the Bears surrounded him with a lame duck coach, a fraudulent general manager, now that they have a legitimate head coach, it's time for Caleb to get serious and play like an NFL quarterback. But because he can't read defenses, is constantly breaking the pocket, is inconsistent pre- and post-snap, and has at times wild accuracy, the Chicago Bears are in a world of trouble because they still do not have a quarterback.